Soma, 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 kijana, masiku zazidi badilika. Kijana, wazuri wazidi kuzaliwa, na dunia nayo yazidi badilika. Kijana. This is a song from my country, Kenya, to encourage young people. Thank you so much to the member states and for endorsing our talent. So this is a song from my country, Kenya, to encourage young people to study so that they will be guaranteed a good livelihood in the future, and mostly through the white-collar jobs. But this is not mostly the case in most of the times, and that is why we are here to advocate for agriculture and food policy systems for the young people. I want to thank the ambassador from Tanzania who's speaking from the parliament, Neema. Thank you so much. I heard you, and we heard all the member states that spoke. I also want to thank Pio Venobst, who was the rapporteur and who spoke about hope for the young people. And in this intervention, we hope that there is hope for us as we speak. And even as we sit at this table speaking to the CFS, we hope that you will listen to our voices that are working to improve this document so that we can be able to do more for the young people. And even for the World Food Forum, we also want to hope that we can have a seat at the table as we have a seat here, so that as young people, we can be able to engage collectively and not have fragmented spaces which give different voices. So for the youth in Kigali, for the youth in Russia, for the youth in Tanzania that are meeting, we want to be part of the process so that we can speak in one voice as young people. We are grateful for the opportunity to bring our diverse voices directly here in the CFS. My name is Sefu Sanni, and I'm a coordinator for the CSIPM Youth Working Group and a member of the World March of Women. What we see today is a global crisis for the youth who are unemployed, who are dealing with the fact that agriculture is not seen as a means of achieving a sustainable and dignified livelihood, and who are grappling with many issues like rural to urban migration, which has been mentioned here about the rural and urban youth, and not having access to land and natural resources, which is a big issue for the young people. Given the scope of challenges, we hoped for a more ambitious document that would both identify the major challenges that impede the dignified engagement of youth in food systems and offer meaningful recommendations to address them. Unfortunately, this is not the document that we have negotiated, although what we're asking for is an improvement of this document. Even though we've listened to the member states who have endorsed this document, we endorse this document with you. We ask you to listen to our voices, to hold our hands as we have a seat at the table, to have the political will to listen to us as the young people, and to be able to pass the reservations that we have towards this document so that we can improve it for the livelihoods of the young people and the food and agricultural systems of this world. So given the scope of challenges, the CSIPM Youth Working Group assessed the document and found that while there are various aspects that are extremely good, and of course we appraise the HLPE, other key elements are missing and harmful. So we are going to reiterate what is good, what is harmful, and what is missing in this document. And we hope that you hold our hands as we do this. So the positive aspects in this document include the addition of dignified livelihoods and not only decent work, because work is not about just working, but having decent livelihoods, and especially for the young people. The recommendations for redistributive reforms that could address gender inequalities, ownership concentration and rural poverty, And I've heard a lot of people speak about the rural young women and especially the indigenous women. The inclusion of the terms situations of marginalization and not just vulnerability. And this speaks to a lot of young people who are in spaces of occupation. For example, the spaces in Palestine, the spaces in Ukraine as well. Recommendation for gender responsive and gender transformative policies. Recommendations for recognition, compensation, and redistribution of unpaid work, including care and domestic work, performed mostly by young women. A reference to informal markets, local food hubs, community-supported agriculture, urban and peri-urban agriculture, and public procurement. Women's rights, the rights of gender-diverse people, and the centrality of peasants' rights are outrightly missing in the document. The right to food sovereignty and not just food security is overlooked, and I've listened to most of the states who are speaking about food security, but food sovereignty is also very important to us and very important in this document.
Thank you, Chair. We support the adoption of the document, but we can't do so without communicating our reservations. First, the CSIPM disassociates from all textual references to youth in diverse situations and conditions. This language does not truly recognize the diversity of youth, especially youth with multiple and intersecting identities, and the identities of persons who have been historically subjected to discrimination based on their sexual orientation and gender identity. Second, we note the great failure of the policy product to explicitly recognize women's rights. We disassociate from the caveats attached to UNDROP and UNDRIP, particularly the caveat as applicable with free prior and informed consent, and the caveat as far as they have been agreed, acknowledged, and/or endorsed. Third, we disassociate from language calling for equitable access to productive resources. We have the human rights to these sources of life, including the rights to land, seeds, and water. Fourth, we disassociate from references to other innovative approaches that have been situated alongside agroecology. In conflating these approaches, the recommendations truly fail to recognize the transformative potential of agroecology. In conclusion, Chair, we have serious concerns with how the HLPE report was treated throughout the negotiation process. In particular, the failure to take seriously the HLPE's scientific assessment of the structural challenges for youth engagement and employment. The CSIPM therefore strongly dissociates from the language describing this policy product as informed by the HLPE report. Had these recommendations truly been informed by the HLPE, they would have offered the steps forward for the urgently needed radical transformation of our food systems. Thank you. So following the precedent set by CFS 47, where our mechanism had a reservation text included in the final report of the plenary, we would like to request sincerely support from member states here that the full text of our reservations be included as an appendix in the final report of this 50th plenary session. Thank you.